All right, we are going live this afternoon with author and empath David Savage. So, an empath is someone who can feel the emotions of another person, and David has done several live performances where he's actually on stage and feeling the emotions of other people and helping them to get a better sense of what's going on within themselves. And today we're on to be talking about our upcoming workshop and experience, a connection experience called Dating as a Path to Enlightenment. So I'm going to invite David to join us right now. There we go. Hello.
Hello, nice to see you.
Great to see you. I'm so grateful to have you on this IG Live. And I gave a little background on you and your work and what it is to be an empath, but I would love to have you capture a little bit more about that before we dive into our fun topic today.
Okay, so I have been really, for much of the last 5 years, branding myself as empath or an empath or the empath. And what I mean by that is that I can feel, as many others can, the emotions of others. So an empath, in my definition, is somebody who feels other people's feelings. But more recently, I've been drifting away from that relatively narrow, albeit effective branding, and just going with my name as my new brands, or maybe no brand as my new brands. And in my current iteration, I'm just enjoying talking about, teaching, and learning about uh, emotions, how to process them, what the intersection is between understanding our own psychology and developing spiritually. And I'm excited to take this way of talking and learning into your space.
Really, really excited to have you. And I remember feeling that on the call we had a couple weeks ago of just like how you just so naturally demonstrate the thing that you're teaching real time. And it invited me to be more open with my own language and experience. And I really appreciated that. And I actually was listening to one of your, I downloaded your course tangent, but I remember
Thank you.
yeah, I really appreciated it. It was the one on how to apologize. And what I loved about your style was how you were kind of simultaneously teaching and learning as you go, like really having this kind of open forum that taps into each person's inherent wisdom and then like brings that forth to have a really rich discussion on a really complex topic. So I'm really excited for our topic, which
I call it teach learning.
teach
I don't know.
learning.
Yeah, where I'm teaching what I kind of know but don't really know, and that makes it alive for me and alive for the people working with me. And sometimes the wisdom comes through me, and sometimes it comes through who's ever there. And it's just orienting around what feels true in our bodies.
Yeah, yeah, that's super
There's a little bit
powerful.
of clicking in your, I think it's in your audio. It might be in mine, but it's a click, click, click. I don't
Oh,
know what to tell you about it. It could be the AirPods.
let me try to take them off and see if that
No, no, now that, yeah,
is it gone? Is it still clicking?
can't tell yet.
Okay, wait. Is
Now you're,
Can you hear me? Is
yes,
that better?
so far so good. Yes.
Okay, we will be AirPod free for the duration of this this live. So maybe we can just dive right into our topic. And it's funny how it came about because I was basically sharing a little bit about Hum Hum and what we're working on and looking for points of synergy and collaboration. And you so eloquently came up with this topic of, dating as a path to enlightenment, which at face value is kind of tongue in cheek because it's so absurd that but I think what's so absurd about it is that like how true how real it is, which is why, yeah, it makes it really interesting. So I'm curious, where you want to start with this.
Well, I want to acknowledge you more because I was asking you what was most alive in you, what your passion was, and I found the cute phrase, but I think the energy of it was in you. And I am also interested in exploring, understanding, how we can grow through dating. And maybe even a better way of thinking about it is how dating is actually nothing more than a way of growing. Um, and instead of looking at dating as a means to an end, like I am dating in order to find my person, or even I'm dating to have fun, what if you're dating in order to grow, in order to be who you truly are, in order to
Mm.
explore and expand? That feels like a really healthy way to think about it. Very hard way to think about it for a lot of us, but a really healthy way to think about it.
Yeah, because I think in essence what we're saying is dating is one form of being in relationship with others. And I think for most of time it's been like centered on this concept of finding a significant other, a romantic partnership. But I think taking like such a myopic lens is what makes it feel really stressful for a lot of people, and also inauthentic. Like you actually aren't able to enjoy the process because it is so um, transactional or like outcomes focused. And I just, I think like if we almost had a different word for it, because I think even the word dating feels so loaded,
Yeah.
like it would take some of that edge off. And it's like any
Romantic
connection.
connection exploration.
Yeah, we need something shorter, but I like yeah.
Maybe we can come up with an acronym.
Ooh, romantic
The,
connection,
uh,
RCE.
see, it's not a very good acronym. We need a
We
better
need a
one. But
vowel.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I think it's like almost being able to flip the entire concept on its head and just be like, what am I actually doing while still acknowledging what is intrinsic or true, as you to use your words, which for a lot of people is like, I'm open to, available to, interested in a partnership, romance, that type of relationship. So like honoring that, being available to that, but not like just making your whole life about it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But even going further, let's say you are desperate. Let's say you
Mm.
really, really, really want one partner and you really, really want to have a family and it's
Mm.
super intense, that desire. Can you can you be with that desire while still making space for the actual experience of the person you're sitting with and not trying to box them into whether they fit your need, but
Mm.
really just trying to be present? And in order to do that, you have to become present with your own anxieties and fears. So even at the extreme where you have an intense, overwhelming, desperate need for a man now before you run out of eggs, to take the extreme
Mm.
psychology, can
Right.
you can you see that intense those intense emotions running through you as your experience, an experience you are being invited to integrate and make sense of, instead of projecting that out onto men and saying, are you going to meet my need now or not? Which breaks connection or reduces the man to a series of checkboxes. And of course, I'm using the gendered stereotype there, but it can go the other way too.
Yeah, I love that framing of not like acknowledging and being with the heat of that desire and that
Mm-hmm.
need and that want, honoring, like taking care of yourself, but then putting that in its place, and instead of projecting that outward, which then makes that whole exchange all about your desire as opposed to like what's actually happening
Mm-hmm.
in the moment with this exchange with this person, then you can start to really have experiences that move you closer and closer ultimately to that authentic aligned fit. But it's not really even about that. It's about being able to enjoy and be present with each moment of the whole process.
Absolutely. And if that the difference in maturity level between somebody who's feeling those intense emotions and is able to say, hey, I'm feeling this really intense fear around not finding a partner in time, and I want to let you know about that because that's really active and alive in me, And so now you know what's there for me and we can connect authentically, versus somebody feeling those same things,
Mm.
hiding those emotions from their first or second date and acting like they're cool, and then surprising the man with the reality. There's this
Mm.
huge difference. And in the first case, what you're actually doing is you're preparing yourself and inviting a deeper and more authentic connection.
Yeah.
And in the second case, you're reducing people to a box you need to fit them in, because you haven't yet done the work of holding your own experience. And you're trying to compel other people to hold your experience for you, which will make a mess exactly 100% of the time.
Exactly, 100%. And I think the other thing that you're making me think of is I don't think as humans we go into most connections wanting to manipulate, but manipulation is ultimately the like exactly what you're describing, where you're projecting your needs and desires onto a circumstance and trying to withhold what's true for you in order to have the outcome mirror the thing that you're wanting, which exactly is the mess. And
Yeah.
manipulation is the thing that feels so shitty because it feels shitty for both people. It feels bad for the manipulator and it feels bad for the manipulated. And I don't mean that in like a victim way. It's more just like that is what's happening. Manipulation is when
Yep.
you're like revealing your true needs and desires and then trying to coerce a situation.
Yeah. Well, manipulation is when you're withholding the information that limits the other person's reality in order to get your needs met. And
Yes.
that's what we think of as dating, actually. It's how do I
Mm.
present myself in such a way so that I can get my needs met through this person. And
Mm-hmm.
and the other way of approaching dating, which you and I are both advocates of, is how can I get more and more in touch with myself and what's really going on, and then share that as much as I'm able, as much as feels safe for me, with somebody. And the more of that they're able to be with, and the more I feel safe with them, the more we're building something authentic.
Mm.
Another cool way of thinking about it is that when you have any relationship, romantic or friendship or business, um, there's kind of a underlying truth in the dynamic. Like there's an underlying relationship that is there, whether you like it or not. And I look at my job in a relationship to uncover that, to surface that
Mm.
together with the other person or the other people, and then allow that unconscious intelligence to move through us and just surrender to that
Mm.
intelligence. And I think that's always possible. My friend Skylar, when she runs workshops, she often starts by saying something like, there's a conversation that only us in this room could possibly have. And I
Mm.
want us to have that conversation and no other.
Mm.
I like that a lot. So there's this hubris in dating where we think
Mm.
we can make the relationship what we want, instead of the humility of uncovering the relationship for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that requires a lot of presence and curiosity and humility as you're describing. It's true. It's like there's almost this baseline like coded into the thing. And it's like, what is it? And of course it can take different expressions, but it's true. Like the thing wants to go a certain way and you can
Yeah.
really feel that. And then you can
Mm-hmm.
feed that and cultivate that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've, I've had a few relationships in my life that there was this kind of question for a while of like, what is the nature of this thing? And like we really were with that question for over a year, 2 years until finally like we found our groove and we're like, we're friends and this feels really good and like we're
Mm-hmm.
creating this thing together. And but it took a minute to not, jump in to want to make it a certain way and just like let it kind of have the space to getting a call. um so yeah, that
I
I
love
love how you
that.
describe
I
that.
love your
Yeah.
patience with that. I love your tolerance for uncertainty. Some of us can't tolerate uncertainty.
Yeah.
But then can you tolerate, if you can't tolerate uncertainty, that's not your fault, but can you tolerate sharing your intolerance of uncertainty in the relationship?
Right.
So
Everything's
whatever,
workable.
everything's workable. So if you don't know where it's going and you really really need to know where it's going, can you bring that fear into the dynamic instead of holding it to the side? And if you can't bring that fear into the dynamic, because not only are you petrified of uncertainty, but you're also petrified of sharing that you're petrified of uncertainty, can you at least bring that fear into the relationship? Hey, there's something going on inside me that I'm really afraid to share. So at least you're trying to build an authentic connection. And if you feel just so afraid of bringing anything that's inside you out, then you're probably not in a good place to date. And that's
Mm.
something to work on when the stakes are lower. How can you
Yeah.
get in touch with your true feelings? How can you learn to express them? And from that place, you are in a place to start building a real relationship.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And the thing you're also making me think of, because this comes up a lot within the Hum Hum community, is questions around like oversharing almost as a trauma response to be like, here are all my cards, like I hope you can deal, right? Like that's a different, that's like a reaction to some of the
Yeah.
maybe the fear versus the,
hmm
yeah,
That's not
curious just
presence
to,
either. So there's two forms of not being present. Well, there are probably many forms, but the two that are here for me are equally problematic. One is inhibition, which is I'm
Mm,
too afraid to share what is true for me. And let's say I'm too afraid to share that I'm too afraid. Now you're really, really inhibited and you're not giving the person a chance to know what's going on inside you, and you're likely going to manipulate them.
mm,
But then the other form of not being present is problematic in the other way, and that's compulsion. And
yeah,
so
that's a good
now
word.
instead of being inhibited, you're just sharing everything. You're like, I got to get all my cards out on the table. And in both cases, the other person's experience is irrelevant to you.
Mm, yeah, well said. That's good. I like that
So
dichotomy.
the dynamic wants to reveal itself in an organic way. And
Mm.
if you're like, I'm just going to share everything that ever happened with me, you're demonstrating in that moment that you're not able or willing to integrate or work with the other person's experience of you.
Mm.
So when I sit down for a date and somebody just talks to me for 2 hours and is not remotely interested in me or curious about anything or curious about my experience of them,
Right.
well, that's pretty revealing.
Right,
Um,
right, right. Because I think so much of what's fascinating, beautiful, interesting about relationship is like, okay, I share a little, and then you're going to have some experience of that thing, and then you share that thing. And then there's this interplay of like experiences that get to weave, and you don't actually know what's going to happen because it's happening real time. And that's what's actually really
uh,
fun. But I
I
think we
agree.
miss it because we want it to like feel maybe like we can control it or familiar in some way, but I think the courage that's required to have that level of like true real-time co-creative connection, there's a lot of courage is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, there's courage for those of us who have done enough work that courage can arise.
Mm,
And then, you know what I mean? Like at a
mm,
certain level of development, you're like, all right, I'm comfortable enough in my own skin and I'm open enough to your experience that I can stand here or sit here in a state of authentic presence. And then for others of us, I don't feel like that takes courage for me. I
mm-hmm,
feel like that flows easily enough for me. And then for
mm,
others of us, courage is not even available.
mm-hmm.
Um, like the fears and anxieties around dating are so intense that presence
Yeah,
is impossible.
yeah,
And like I said, I really think that's an invitation to go look at what it is you're so afraid of and engage. And that's where dating becomes once again a path to enlightenment. What you and I both seem to agree on is that a healthy relationship is built on authentic presence.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's a hard place to get to. But whatever's in the way of you being authentically present is work you get to do in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And every relationship will, whether you're just on a first date or whether you've been together for 5 years or 50, every relationship is going to pull you out of authentic presence. It's going to trigger you. It's going to spin you out. It's going to fill you with fear. It's going to make you run away without realizing it. And so everything that is pulling you away from authentic presence in the dynamic
Mm,
is, if you're oriented around your own healing, if you're oriented around growth, is an invitation to explore what's truly going on inside yourself and to heal.
Yeah. And I think what's really beautiful about how you're languaging all of this is that there's so much space to just be wherever you are in the process, that none of it's better or worse. It's just like being real with yourself about where am I in my capacity and what's needed, what feels like it's in the way, because all of those things are not problems. They're actually the key to really the thing you're seeking. And it's um, that problem is actually the gateway to opening, to to growth, to awakening, essentially to healing.
Yep, that's our premise for our event.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing, and you'll probably be sharing more on the topic, and then we'll have a chance for people to go into their breakout rooms and get to practice some of this, like just sharing authentic relating as best they can, and naming, like, where do you think you are in all this? And
Where does this land on the spectrum between like a talk with opportunity to reflect, a workshop, or an event, a singles event where people get to meet each other? Or is it all three, or what are you feeling?
it's just kind of all of it, because I think essentially the people that are naturally like connecting with the Hum Hum brand are often single or exploring relationship. So I think that's going to be there. And I think like that's when there's opportunities for dating in every facet of your life. So you're coming to a workshop centered on this topic of dating as a path to enlightenment. So naturally, you'll probably meet other people there that are also interested in this topic. So it is
Yeah.
definitely a singles event, but it's not. We're not focusing on it like that. It's not going to be the center point. The center point is actually yourself, and then also the connections that you get to form in the workshop in exploring yourself and others. So it's kind of like, yeah, it is a hybrid of all three.
Great.
Yeah,
Sounds
but we
great.
didn't even really we put it as a connection experience. So it's not like we didn't even say like hum hum dating experience. It's connection experience exploring the topic of dating. So very low pressure, very high reward, hopefully. um, yeah, it'll be good. Anything else
Me.
you feel called to share on it, or you feel complete?
Let's see. I feel really open to answering any other questions if anything's arising for you, but nothing new is coming up yet over
Okay,
here.
I do have a question that's arising, which is around, um, especially in like a workshop format, and when we can get into being reflective, that's the word I'm looking for. Um, Reflecting. If you're the type, like I'm the type that's very like cerebral at times, like I can go into my head instead of really like going into my body and checking in with like what's here. I'll be like, oh, this is what I think about it. So how would you navigate that arising? Like, let's say others are navigating this, like, oh, this is how I think about this topic, getting away from the head and moving into the body or into the heart when we're exploring this topic.
I'm thinking.
The
Actually,
irony.
I'm think feeling. I'm
Yeah,
both in my head and in my body.
there you go. Yeah,
I'm
I guess
looking
that's.
for looking for them to come to an agreement or
Hmm.
synthesis. Um, okay. I I think asking people to feel who are in the habit of thinking and not feeling is asking a lot. And if we say, hey, I'd like you to feel into this, some people that will just be incomprehensible. And the only way to get them to feel into it would be really to orient all around feeling and say, hey, this is all about getting you to feel. Um, when are you talking specifically about the event we're doing, or are you talking more generally?
Um, Both. Yeah.
Um, so generally, that feels true to me that it's really challenging, usually not effective, to try to get people who are in their brains into their hearts unless you're making it about getting out of your brain and into your heart. There are really good reasons why people who are out of their hearts are out of their hearts, and we can't just be like, go
Go
there,
there, yeah.
unless we're gonna hold them through some of the fear and confusion that inevitably arises. Um,
Mm,
then there are people for whom the minute they're invited, even remotely, to be in their bodies, be in their hearts, to experience something at that level, they just show up that way. They don't need any, just like the faintest prompt. And, oh, okay,
mm,
this is the place, this is the space that's operating in. Um, and then there are people who are in the middle, who tend toward the mind but are curious about the heart and occasionally wade into those waters. And what we can do for those people is, well, what I tend to do is try to make it as safe as possible by being with them in all of the feelings that are arising in the experience. So I'll
mm,
use language like, when I say this, it might bring up X, Y, and Z.
yeah.
So I'm with you. Now that gives space for X, Y, and Z. So when I do events, I often make a special effort to invite cynicism or invite judgment or
Mm,
invite discomfort so that the people who are like half in, half out feel invited. And
yeah.
then, like, if you're not vibing with me, that's great. I want you to not vibe with me. Don't pretend to vibe with me. Be where you're at. Oh, wow. Okay, this is cool. I can be where I'm at.
Yeah.
Those are some thoughts on it.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's kind of the key is just wherever you are, that is welcome and like try to acknowledge where you are and then that's feels good.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we have a few questions from people. I'm gonna go
I
through
love
them
it.
real quick.
Great.
So one was on asking about the recordings that you have. Where are those available? So can you share the website? And I'll put it all in the chat notes as well, but the name of your website and how people can access your recorded content.
Yeah. If you go to empath.nyc, you can just click on classes,
Awesome.
and there's some classes for sale there. You can
Okay.
also, if you're on Clubhouse, you can follow me on Clubhouse at Empath on Clubhouse, or just my name on Clubhouse. And I've got maybe 15 or 20 recorded Clubhouse rooms I've done.
Oh, very cool. I didn't even know Clubhouse does that. That's great to know.
They do
Um,
now.
yeah. And then we have off topic, but what do you think about people on socials knocking the empath space? It's unfortunate because it seems to be coming from misunderstanding.
I feel I feel very little. Uh, I feel pretty unattached to I am an empath and I identify as an empath, but I feel pretty unattached to it. Um,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
where your question is coming from, I can feel that. And when people quote unquote knock empaths, it's just a sensitivity. Usually it's going to be a sensitivity in them that has been wounded or closed off. And so they must disavow other people's sensitivity
Mm,
because they're in too much pain to face their own. So be with the hurt that it causes you when somebody diminishes or marginalizes you for your sensitivity. That's real. And then once you're with that hurt or after you've been with that hurt and if you have space for the other person, recognize that they're just hurting you because they're hurting. And if anger shows up in the middle, that's cool too. Be with that anger.
yeah. Thank you. That's beautiful. And then the last question was, where can the details of this workshop be found? So I know we have it on our website at humhum.space. And if you click our bio, HumHum's bio, you can access the links to the different events. Do you have it on your website too?
I don't. I should.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that. It will be on both of our websites today. But for now, you can definitely get it on HumHum. And sometimes the little button to buy the tickets doesn't work, so we put the link in the text as well. So I'll put all this in the write-up notes. And then let's see, how to reconnect to the body when the mind is in total fog.
It's the perfect time. Um,
Yes, true.
when the mind is in fog, that's a good time to try to reconnect with the body. Literally asking yourself, how does my body feel right now? And then listening with your body for any answers. So I feel a little tremor in my right calf. I feel a little tension in the right center of my back. I feel a little pressure behind my eyes. And the more I can do that, and this is me reporting real time on my current body. So the more I can do that, the more in my body I get.
Yeah.
And then if you're even more patient, are there any emotions present? Just asking yourself and giving yourself time. It might be nice to go out in nature a little bit, or even just go out for a walk,
Yeah.
move your body.
Yeah. And I think also noting like the absence of sensation is also something to be aware of. Sometimes it's like, I don't feel anything. Okay, numbness or absence of
Yep,
sensation also counts.
absolutely. And also, if somebody's like, I don't feel anything, well, two things are going on. One, you feel numb. Two, you sound a little confused or frustrated. So you're
Right.
having two legitimate experiences there we can orient around. I
Yeah.
think what people think there's some experience they're meant to be having, and then when they're not having that experience, there's a little bit of shame that they're used
Mm.
to repressing, and then confusion that's on top of the shame. And so all this is spinning around. But whatever whatever authentic experience you're having is what there is to orient around, whether that's nothing or confusion or a pain in your ankle or a feeling of joy or the subtle sense of sun on my right eye.
Mm.
That's whatever the experience is, that's where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something that's so empowering and satisfying just about even having the subtle awareness to tune into whatever that is, and all of it is perfect and like welcome. So, yeah, true.
Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, David. This was really a lovely chat. I appreciated connecting in this live forum, and I will post this alongside details to our event and your website as well so people can connect. And then we'll hopefully see everyone on the 2nd. It's February 2nd in the evening. So 2222. That's pretty cool.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I
Thank you
don't think
for
we realized
organizing
that.
this, and thank you for putting together a cool event, and thank you for organizing and thank you for having an organization that is all around mindful dating.
Thank you.
That's wonderful to do. It's a good thing to have in the world. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, take care. See you
All right, you
soon.
too.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.